Hi everyone, Janie here. Welcome back to my garden. I am in my Best for the West garden bed today, otherwise known as my orchard, because I have all my orchard trees here. I have 2 oranges, a pomegranate, a fig, a giant fig, and then a lime, and soon to come a lemon tree. I've decided to put a lemon tree in as well. So I'm up in my Best for the West garden bed because, this garden bed is, or garden I should say, is a garden that I'm focusing on plants that can handle our hot, dry weather here on the West Coast, kind of like California, Arizona, Nevada, Oregon, some of Idaho, kind of that whole area. So for most of us in this area, we have very, very hot, dry, long summers and cold, wet winters that are shorter. So because of that weather pattern in the summer, because it's hot and dry, we are more prone to wildfires. We are more prone to everything getting dry and crispy, and then one, lightning bolt or silly person not being careful can start like a huge wildfire, and it's a huge bummer. For those of you who have watched me for a while, you all know that we lost my family home, my childhood home, in a wildfire in 2017. My parents were living there, but luckily they were not home. They were here in Davis watching my children while my husband and I were on vacation. So everybody was safe, but it was such a horrible, horrible period because we lost all our belongings, the home that I grew up in. It was terrible. So fire resistant planting is definitely something that I wanted to talk about on my channel. When I say fire resistant planting, I don't mean fireproof, right? When the fire gets hot enough, like the fire that burnt up our home, that fire was so hot, it went through absolutely everything. There was nothing left except for chimneys, fireplaces. It had downed everything else because the fire was so hot. But not all fires are like that. Some fires are a little bit less intense, and so fire resistant planting, especially around the perimeter of your property, can be really good to slow down the fire so that you can protect yourself. So I know this isn't the most fun topic to talk about, but I think it is an important topic to talk about, and I actually have 2 plants today from Proven Winners that are fire resistant plants. I have a smokebush, and then I also have something called a Chitalpa. So what makes a fire resistant plant is pretty succulent-y type leaves, thicker leaves. Bushes and trees aren't very bushy. They don't have a lot of woodiness or dry branches or anything like that. And all of these plants tend to be a little bit cleaner. So there is a list of fire resistant plants. You can look them up. They're kind of more for region to region. Like the Bay Area is going to have different fire resistant plants than like the desert. But kind of look it up. Succulents are always a great fire resistant plants if you like planting with succulents. But smokebush and Chitalpa are 2 really great ones, and they're ones that I wanted in my garden anyway, and they're going to be perfect for my Best for the West garden. So the first plant I want to show you is this one. It's called Winecraft Black Smokebush from Proven Winners. So it has these beautiful, beautiful dark leaves. Look at how beautiful this is. So they're very broad, they're very soft, they're easy to crush, and this is a deciduous plant. And all of those characteristics make it really, really good for fire resistance. This is actually a fantastic plant to slow down the path of fire. So it's a great one to plant around the perimeter of your property if you are in an area that does have fire. So the cool thing about this plant is that they have these seed pods. I have a couple left over down here. In early summer, they bloom, and it looks like this plant has smoke all around it. It's so, so beautiful. Now, the Proven Winners has rated this plant through zone 8, but we have this plant all over where we live, all over. It's all over the place. So I know that this plant is going to do really, really great in my zone 9B. So I'm pretty confident for planting it here. Again, you have to take zones with a grain of salt. You have to take a plant tag with a grain of salt, because that plant tag is for the entire country, the entire United States. And so this plant is not going to do well in zone 9 Florida, but it's going to do great in zone 9 where I live. And I shouldn't say that. I don't know if this plant would do good in Florida. Let me me know in the comments if you live in Florida and have planted this plant. So anyway, this one, the Winecraft Black, is different than most smoke bushes because usually smoke bushes get really tall and almost look like a tree. And this one is bred to be a little bit more compact and a little bit more rounded. It gets about 8 feet tall and wide. And I am planting it right next to my deodar cedar that has this beautiful silvery blue foliage. And just look at the combination. Doesn't that look so great? So it's going to get about right there. And then I'm just so excited to see it once it gets its smoky blooms next summer. It's just going to be absolutely beautiful. So Winecraft Black, perfect option for fire-resistant planting. So the next plant that I want to show you for fire-resistant planting is called a Chitalpa, or desert orchid. Now this is another very common plant for my area. It's one that is always recommended for planting because it's really drought tolerant and heat tolerant as well. Hello, Monty. Here it is. Ooh, it even has blooms on it. Okay, this is the one I wanted to show you all. This is called El Nino Desert Orchid, or Chitalpa. So this is actually a North American native, and it's actually a really, really good plant from my area. It's always one of the recommended like native plants to plant, and like trees and things like that. So the cool thing about this one, it has these beautiful, beautiful blooms. This one just got out of the box, so you know, give it some credit for even still having blooms, but it's supposed to have an absolute wonderful fragrance as well. And then this plant is also one that is listed as a fire resistant plant. So it's another great one to plant around the perimeter of your property, again, if you have that issue. If you just want to plant it because it's a beautiful, drought tolerant, heat resistant, gorgeous, gorgeous plant, then go for it. Hello, Monty. Yes. So then also in this box, I was sent, I'm not going to plant these today, but I was sent 3 Perfectamundo double purple azaleas. And these azaleas are supposed to be, again, really, really good for my climate. Hotter weather, it's zones 6B through 9, get 3 feet tall and 4 feet wide. And basically they say you enjoy months of flowers instead of weeks for this azalea. And I believe it because when I go to the garden center, they always have exactly this one. And it's so beautiful, and it's always the Perfectamundos that are blooming. Like, they're always the ones that are in bloom at my garden center, Green Acres. So thank you for sending me these proven winners, Natalie. And I'm going to plant the azaleas up later because I have to kind of amend the soil and everything like that. And I'm not going to be planting these in the Best for the West garden. They're going over in the long border. But this is going, I guess it's not technically the Best for the West, huh? So I'm kind of cheating a little bit. I decided I wanted to put this in the driveway. I mean, not in the driveway, the center island. Let me show you. So this garden from over here all the way over here throughout my orchard is what I'm considering my Best for the West garden. It's all plants that can handle our heat, handle our drought tolerance, or handle our dry weather, our drought, and bloom really well in our hot, dry weather. And you can see these plants. They're happy. They are very, very happy. So I am just cheating just the littlest bit. I'm just going across the driveway a little bit, and I am planting the El Nino Chitalpa right here. This is my center island. I'm technically not doing anything with it this year, just for time and budget reasons, but you can see I did plant a cut flower garden that's doing it's doing okay. It's doing really good over here where I amended the soil with compost. Doing really bad over there where I didn't amend the soil. So lesson learned, amend your soil with compost. But the plans, so we already have plans laid out, so I kind of know where everything's going to go. That's why it's so great to have your design plans before you start planting. And so I do want to plant the Chitalpa right here. It's right next to this Artemisia right here, and then also these Mangaves. I can't remember the name right now, but I'll put it on the screen, and they're just beautiful. So you can see this dark, and then this silvery foliage, and then this beautiful, beautiful green foliage, and it's going to have these pretty pink blooms on it as well. I think it's just going to be perfect. And so, like I said, cheating just a little bit by spilling into my center island this year, but I'm okay with that. Okay, so I'm going to get started with the Smokebush. I have my auger and I have my Biotone starter fertilizer, and it should be pretty easy. Okay, so I've got the Chitalpa planted and I'm going to be responsible right now and I'm going to hook it up to drip. So I'm going to tap in to this hose right here, which just feeds the cut flower garden. I'll probably have to change it next year since we're going to be changing this whole area, but I at least want to get it hooked up right now so that it can establish itself and develop its root system. Now, for all drought-tolerant plants, I think a common misconception is that because they're drought-tolerant, they don't need water. But you have to remember that the plants have to get established first. So I just took this plant out of the can. I just potted it up. It doesn't have a huge root system right now, so it doesn't have access to the water all throughout here as much as it will once it has established itself. So I do have to hook it up to drip. So I think everyone asks me what level I'm going to put on each strip on each plant. Right now, this is going to be a very, very fast growing plant. That's one of the things that the El Nino Chitalpa is known for. So I'm actually going to put a 1 gallon per hour emitter on here. I probably will change that as time goes on. Or not, I don't know. I just kind of have to see. But for right now, my opinion, and this is totally different for every garden. This is not like across the board. This is just to tell you all, because that's one of the questions that I get the most is how much water are you putting on this plant? So right now, the decision I'm making is to put a 1 gallon per hour emitter on. We run this for about 30 minutes a day. On really hot days, we'll actually run it twice. And I'm going to watch it and I'm going to see how it does. So 1 gallon per hour here. And then I'll just bring it over here. Put in a straight coupler that's just going to be able to connect the spaghetti tubing to this bigger tubing, which is 5/8 inch. All right, that's it. I'm going to go hook up the smoke bush and then we'll be done. Okay, Winecraft Black is all hooked up to drip as well. I'm so proud of myself. So I added a 1 gallon per hour on this one. Again, that is just what I'm starting with. I'm still going to observe. I'm going to watch this. I'm going to see if it needs more water or less water, but that's the one that I've chosen to start off with. So hopefully that helps all of you in deciding what drippers or emitters to put on your plants. So yeah, fire resistant planting, it's not the most fun topic to talk about, but I do think it's an important topic to talk about, and it's something to think about, especially if you've moved into like a new home and you're working on landscaping your perimeter. It's really going to help if you think about plants like this that are going to basically slow down fire if, you know, heaven forbid that ever happens. So I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.